Dear Simon and the gathering of gracious pardoning. Having watched England play Tunisia in the World Cup last week, I felt I needed to confess my sins that took place 20 years ago when England last played them in the World Cup during France 1998. So what with England playing in an hour and 15 minutes? Not that we're interested in that at all, because we've got some top songs to be playing.
Couldn't care
7
less.
That's right. Unless Bob just wants to come in and do an hour of country, in which case that'd be good. So
Well, Bobby could do an hour of travel. We don't mind.
Okay.
country and travel mixed. Bob and Bobby
The remix.
together at last. That'd be very good. Anyway, Jamie says, I was coming to the end of my marine biology degree and had spent most of the spring revising for my finals and visiting the careers centre of the university. At the centre, I collected application forms for job forms for any job that I could find, even though none of them slightly related to my degree in marine biology. These were all techie jobs and not at all about marine biology, but needs must, so I applied for them. I sent off the application forms, and to my surprise, I had a letter inviting me to an assessment centre with a large IT/telecoms company. This was to be a 2-day assessment centre at a rather posh country hotel, and the first day would be June the 15th, which caused me a problem. That would coincide with England's first match of the World Cup against Tunisia. And since 1990, I hadn't missed a single England game, whether on TV or at the actual match. And as I said, needs must, and the chance to get on the career ladder far outweighed my need to follow my national team. So on a hot Monday, I arrived at the hotel in the middle of the countryside, new ill-fitting suit, correctly on display. Unfortunately, we began half an hour before the England match kicked off in a large meeting room. There were about 20 of us, fresh-faced graduates, sat around a large meeting room table, and I took my seat and wrote my name big and clear on the name card in front of me. I spent that first day going through a range of psychometric tests, interviews and group exercises. None of them were related to the telecoms industry, therefore I felt like I was flying and impressing people. I glowed with confidence. At the end of the day, we retired to our rooms to freshen up, change into more casual clothes, and then back down to be treated to a lovely meal. I got chatting to two fellow graduates called Lee and Stephen, who were equally frustrated with the lack of opportunity to watch the match. As we headed to the bar in the evening, the drinks started to flow, and when the England highlights came on, flowed some more. And then, to be honest, kept flowing for the next, 5 hours or so. And by now, everyone else had gone back to their rooms to get early nights and prepare for the second and final day of the assessment. But for us, it was definitely tequila and chicken korma o'clock. My alarm went off the next morning. It's very unwise behaviour, isn't it? My alarm went off the next morning at 8 o'clock and I thought my head was caving in. The room was spinning. I felt sick. My head was pounding. When I got to my seat downstairs, everyone looked fresh-faced, whilst I was about to die. And then things got worse. Right about the time Martin, the graduate manager, opened his mouth, to be exact. This second day was going to concentrate on telecoms, computer networks and business analysis. And what came out of his mouth can only be described as utter nonsense to me. It was double Dutch. Everyone else seemed to be taking it in and nodding wisely. I couldn't nod because it hurt my head too much. We soon split into groups and spent 15 minutes working on a scenario, and whilst I nodded along, I had no idea what they were talking about. Then Martin called time and went around the groups asking for their thoughts, but I had my head down pretending to make notes. One graduate, who was called Ian, seemed to be doing all the talking and asking questions. A well-spoken and clearly extremely intelligent fella who knew his stuff. Martin, the graduate manager, was nodding and smiling, and when Ian finished his latest point, Martin said, "Absolutely. Excellent point, Jamie." Well, this woke me up slightly, because I'm Jamie, and I'm the only person in the room called Jamie. Had I nodded off and said something by mistake? No, I don't think so. Still, this guy called Ian made comments and asked questions, and still Martin called him Jamie. I was confused. I looked up and looked across the room, and there was Ian talking away, but with my name card in front of him. The name card I'd written the day before. We were sitting in the wrong place. I opened my mouth to inform Martin that I was Jamie and that he got the wrong person, but the urge to be sick took over, so I closed my mouth and I put my head down again. Surely Martin will know he had the wrong person. Surely Ian would correct Martin. To be honest, I stopped listening at this point as my head felt it was about to explode. At 2 p.m. we said our goodbyes, and I gingerly made my way back to the station and went home feeling grim, just wanting to put the whole episode behind me. My parents were appalled. But It was with a huge amount of surprise when a week or so later I received a phone call from the bloke called Martin telling me the assessment panel were impressed with me, the marine biology graduate, would be offering me the job, working for an IT telecoms company. To say the least, I was stunned. My parents were amazed. A month later, I made my way south to start my new life and career, and when I arrived in the reception of the company, there were Lee and Stephen, my beery partners in crime. They were open-mouthed as the three of us were the only ones from the assessment centre who made it through. There was no sign of clever Ian anywhere. Within a week of starting the job, I knew I was out at my depth, but I stuck at it for 4 years, even though I hated every single minute. 20 years on, I'm a successful management trainer, but I still look back on that day with a lot of guilt. One misplaced name card was all it had taken for me to get the job that should have gone to somebody else. So, clearly, I need forgiveness from Ian, as he should have corrected Martin. I don't seek forgiveness from Martin, who should have noted who was who the day before. I do, however, seek forgiveness from the various project managers I worked under in that company who must have wondered what the hell the company had recruited, and also to the many millions of customers of that company who will curse the telephone system that I was responsible for designing. So this is very specific. So who would have thought that Jamie was to get the gig, but clearly they just appointed the wrong guy because he was sitting in the wrong place by the wrong name tag. Anyways, Jamie's confession, and Joe speaks first.
Yeah, absolutely not forgiven in any way, shape or form. I mean, I kind of feel a little bit of sympathy for him because he had to, put himself under immense pressure when he began the job. But no way, this is what happens if you drink until, from tequila and chicken korma o'clock until, the very next morning. Apparently, I would quite like that phrase. But no, not forgiven. Ridiculous. He should have obviously fessed up.
Yeah. Okay, so not forgiven.
No.
All right.
Does remind me, though, of doing an evening session thing with Steve Lemack once with TerraVision. Didn't they sing about tequila?
Yeah,
we did a show and then we went out drinking afterwards and we drank a lot of tequila.
After work.
After work, yeah, but then we had a panel the next morning. And so actually, the way that Jamie was just describing the way he was feeling was the way I was feeling when we were doing this panel, yeah. So maybe a little bit of sympathy, but no, not forgiven at all. He should have fessed up. Poor Ian lost out on the job, and Jamie, you should feel ashamed.
Bobby?
I think what might have happened, you see, because the thing is, there's many twists and turns in this, but I think Martin, the trainer, saw them in the bar, thought, those are the guys that I want to work with in this job that's maybe not so exciting, and those are the guys that will get you through a very unexciting job. So I think that maybe Martin actually did pick the best people, but on a very different merit system that we don't know about. That's what I think.
Well,
and it's difficult because Ian is quite smart, so I can't work out why Ian didn't go, I've got the wrong name card, and he wasn't off on tequila all night. So Ian has some responsibility in that. You see, Martin, it's not all Jamie's fault. It's not all Jamie's fault. And he wasn't to expect the consequences. He didn't expect to get a job, did he?
No,
he didn't try, he didn't lie. So I think...
Go
There's an element of deceit there, isn't there?
What does he say? When they ring up and say, do you want the job? And he go, you do, you mean me? I don't think you can say that when you really... I don't think even I would. I'd say, I give it my best shot. So I think, Jamie, you should have left that job earlier. That's the only thing. But you are forgiven in this tiny...